Crowds start gathering for the New Year's Eve fireworks and countdown. The chief executive underscores his 4 wishes for the new year ahead. And Israel's prime minister says his country's war in Gaza will continue for many more months. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Crowds have started to gather in the Chimsha-Choi district. Many are eagerly preparing to watch the fireworks display, which will light up the sky over Victoria Harbour at midnight to celebrate the new year. Musin Ai with details.
Time flies like an arrow. Today is the last day of year 2023. Of the different New Year countdown activities, the fireworks display is among the most popular for many people. On this New Year's Eve, a 12-minute fireworks musical with the theme New Year New Legend will be presented to the public. The display is described as the largest ever New Year's Eve celebration, with the display covering a stretch of 1,300 meters from North Point to Central. While the show will not start until midnight, this woman has been waiting at the Chimsha-Choi Promenade, a traditional spot, for enjoying the fireworks since this morning. There will be road closure arrangements in this area later. We came early so we could avoid the no-entry situation, she said. This Western restaurant near the promenade said tables are fully booked for the night, with half of the bookings coming from mainlanders. The manager said the restaurant will extend its opening time by an hour after the fireworks show ends. Some people decided to watch the display on the sea. Tickets for fireworks tour boats are all sold out. Despite sunny intervals during the day, visibility remains rather low. The observatory said winds are weak over the coast of Guangdong, so it is trickier to clear pollutants. However, weather authorities said a surge of northeast monsoon conditions is expected to reach southern China tonight, meaning better air quality for the city.
But the last time it's great.
Some special road and traffic arrangements have already been implemented owing to the New Year's Eve countdown celebrations, including road closure measures in Chimsha-Choi and West Kowloon cultural districts starting from 6 p.m. The roads will reopen once the crowds disperse. Public transport such as the MTR and tram will extend services and increase frequency. News 9, TVB News.
As 2023 is set to come to a close, Chief Executive John Lee said it's full steam ahead for the government to work and improve the city's economy, development and livelihood in the coming year. The city's finance chief also reviewed today Hong Kong will host even more events next year, encompassing sports tournaments, cultural jamborees and financial summits. In an article published in Bohemian magazine, Chief Executive John Lee described his administration's work through 2023. Looking back, he said Hong Kong has shown positive recovery with encouraging momentum, despite the complex external environment and ongoing geopolitical conflicts. The CEO also underscored his 4 wishes for the new year ahead. First, resolutely upholding the one country, two systems principle and safeguarding national security. Lee said the government is gearing up to complete enacting legislation on Article 23 of the Basic Law in 2024. Article 23, together with the existing national security law, can help build a strong shield of protection and cornerstone for Hong Kong's stability and prosperity, Lee said. Second, perfecting the system and efficiency of governance. Lee said the SAR government will put in place a regular exchange mechanism between Hong Kong delegates to the National People's Congress and Hong Kong members of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. That's in a bid to take in valuable opinions on the SAR's governance from those who love both the country and Hong Kong. As the 7th-term district councils will take office on January 1st, Lee hopes the new councillors can better coordinate the work of the district councils, the 3 area committees of the districts, and the care teams to better serve the community. Lee added increasing public housing supply and solving subdivided flat problems will remain front and center in the administration's policy making. They include the aim to drive down the average waiting time for public housing to 4.5 years in fiscal year 2026-27 and the provision of some 2,100 units of light public housing in fiscal year 2024-25. The last wish for 2024 continuously cement Hong Kong's existing strengths in its integration into the development of the nation. Also striking a note of optimism towards 2024 is Financial Secretary Paul Chan.
讓我哋同心合力，堅定前行。
In his blog post, he said the series of Happy Hong Kong and Night Vibes Hong Kong campaigns had fostered a more vibrant atmosphere in the city. He revealed Hong Kong will host even more events next year to woo more overseas friends to visit Hong Kong again and again. The finance chief added offices set up by strategic enterprises in Hong Kong, including AstraZeneca and battery giant CATL, will help bring in more investment and jobs. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country's war in Gaza will continue for many more months, pushing back against persistent international ceasefire calls. Civilian deaths are mounting, with Gaza authorities saying more than 21,600 people have been killed since October 7th, when Hamas and other Palestinian groups raided Israel, resulting in around 1,200 deaths. Netanyahu said that after the war, Israel must take back the buffer zone between Gaza and Egypt, known as Philadelphia Corridor, which is at odds with the U.S. hopes for a two-state solution. Nasri Karim has more.
Rafah, in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. Farther south beyond the Gaza border is a Philadelphia Corridor, a narrow strip of land 14 kilometers in length, patrolled by Egyptian border guards. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wants to retake control of the corridor after the war, saying any other arrangement would not ensure the demilitarization of Gaza. That is one of the goals of Israel's current offensive. That would effectively give Israel exclusive control of Gaza for the first time since 2005, with the Rafah crossing currently only part of the enclave, not under Israeli jurisdiction. It's part of Netanyahu's plan for military control over Gaza after the war, which is at odds with that of US President Joe Biden, who is keen to consolidate a two-state solution that gives Palestinians self-determination. Still, the Biden administration is happy to bypass Congress to provide Israel with $149 million worth of weaponry in its quest to eliminate Hamas and free hostages. It's the second tranche of funding for Israel this month, knowing that Netanyahu's forces face a long, drawn-out war against Hamas and other Palestinian groups, well entrenched in tunnels across the Strip and engaging in guerrilla warfare. One of those groups, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, said an Israeli soldier taken hostage on October 7th was killed by Israel in a strike that also wounded several members of the group. Meanwhile, Gaza authorities say more than 160 people were killed in the previous 24 hours. Many are missing, including the husband of this woman. Amina Shamlak al-Rafi said she was among the hundreds of thousands forced to flee Gaza City in the north and seek refuge in Rafah in the south. During the journey, her husband was taken away by Israeli soldiers. That was more than 55 days ago, and she has had no word about his whereabouts. She also worries for her children, who are barely eating given the lack of food. Around 200 aid trucks are reportedly entering Gaza daily, far short of the 500 a day needed to sustain a population of 2.3 million, 85% of whom are displaced. Nasri Karim, TVB News.
In Serbia, thousands of people have again rallied in the capital city to protest against the results of the December 17th elections. Crowds chanted thieves, accusing the populist authorities of President Alexander Vučić of orchestrating election fraud and demanding the annulment of the results. The ruling Serbian Progressive Party, or SBS, was declared winner, but the main opposition alliance, Serbia Against Violence, has claimed the election was stolen. The protesters cheered the appearance of opposition leader Marinika Tepic, who has been on a hunger strike since the ballot. The opposition has urged an international probe after several global watchdogs reported multiple irregularities, including cases of vote buying and ballot box stuffing. The SBS denies the allegations. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has vowed to launch 3 new spy satellites, adding that U.S. policy is making war on the Korean peninsula inevitable. North Korea's ruling Workers' Party completed its 5-day year-end meeting on Saturday. During the meetings, Kim said reckless moves by the U.S. and South Korea make it a fait accompli that war can break out at any time. He said it may involve nuclear weapons. Pyongyang launched its first spy satellite this year and vowed to send 3 more into orbit. He also wants to build military drones and boost Pyongyang's nuclear arsenal. Washington and Seoul have conducted military drills in the area over the past years, which Kim describes as rehearsals for an invasion. Kim also talked about boosting the North Korean economy and several other domestic issues. In the U.S., a powerful explosion destroyed a house in the state of Michigan, killing at least 4 people and injuring 2 others. Police are investigating the cause of the blast, which was so strong that it reportedly sent debris flying for more than 1.5 kilometers. The explosion occurred on Saturday at a house in Whitmore Lake. The 2 people injured were taken to hospital. They remain in critical condition. The house was reduced to rubble and debris scattered over a wide area. One eyewitness who has lived in Whitmore Lake for 40 years said, "Even in war, I have never heard of anything of this level at this distance." Still ahead, Russia launches new strikes against Kharkiv after Ukraine's attack on the Russian city of Belgorod. An unauthorized passenger boarded a Cathay flight in Japan last Thursday. And the government urged to tell the public how to buy required garbage bags for rubbish disposal starting next April. Welcome back. Russia has launched one of its biggest airstrikes on Ukraine, with the war escalating over the New Year's weekend. Moscow says it is a response to what it calls an indiscriminate hitting attack by Ukraine on the Russian border city of Belgorod. David Garrett reports.
Fires burn in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. Ukraine officials say at least 20 died in the Russian raid. Locals walk among the debris as the governor of the city said dozens of others are receiving treatment for injuries. He also described how a strike hit the 12th floor of a hotel, but the people there were able to escape. The alarm was sounded when another missile hit nearby earlier. This woman is almost lost for words as she tells the camera, "This is our new year." Spokesman Igor Konashenkov said the attack was indiscriminate and was carried out using Czech-made rockets and munitions. Ukraine said it was targeting military sites. President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke of the latest strike and said many had suffered in recent days at the hands of the terrorist state. He said for every Russian missile, the terrorist state will bear just responsibility, political and practical. The escalation between Russia and Ukraine has already been discussed at the United Nations Security Council.
We unequivocally condemn all attacks on cities, towns and villages in Ukraine and in the Russian Federation. Attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure violates international humanitarian law.
Russia said Ukraine and the countries that back them, including the Czech Republic, which made the missiles, are complicit in war crimes after the attack in Belgorod.
As long as Russia persists, the United States will support Ukraine's effort to defend itself.
First, Russia blamed Ukraine for these strikes. Then it tried to demand that Czechia appear before this council. Now the Russian ambassador is blaming the UK, the US and the EU. If Russia wants someone to blame for the deaths of Russians in this war, it should start with President Putin.
China said it was saddened by vicious attacks and civilian casualties and concerned by the delays in ending the war, hoping the suffering of innocent people would not continue into the new year. David Garrett, TVB News.
The government will begin charging residents for rubbish disposal starting April 1st. But details of how to purchase the required rubbish bags are still under wraps. The Property Management Services Authority also called on the government to release the information as soon as possible to let the public and management companies better prepare for the new law. In 3 months, Hong Kong's waste levy will come into force. As 2024 is just around the corner, some citizens try to declutter for a fresh start of the year. Ms. Wang here says she has been clearing unwanted items at home. Apart from discarding them, she tried to give them away. Starting April 1st, Hong Kongers will have to buy designated rubbish bags or labels to dispose of their household waste or be fined $1,500. The bags come in 9 sizes, ranging from 3 liters to 100 liters. Each liter costs 11 cents. In the first 6 months of implementation, the government will hand out free rubbish bags to public housing residents or tenants living in 3 no buildings, meaning premises without owners' corporations, residents' organizations, or property management companies. Starting around February, these bags will be available for purchase in more than 1,000 supermarkets, convenience stores, and retail shops. But the government has yet to publish a detailed list of these shops. The Property Management Services Authority recently conducted a survey among the city's 759 property management companies. Of the 178 respondents, or about 20% of all such companies, most are discussing with owners' corporations and cleaning service contractors over the specific waste disposal procedures when the new law takes effect. But only around 10% of them have reached a consensus. The body hopes the government will unveil more details on how people can acquire the designated rubbish bags as soon as possible. The group added that during the 6-month transitional period, the government should hand out free designated trash bags to all housing estates instead of just public housing residents to allow all citizens to adjust to the new policy together. An unauthorized passenger boarded a Cathay Pacific flight from Japan to Hong Kong last Thursday, the airline said. Cathay Pacific said the incident involved flight CX521, which was set to leave Narita International Airport for Hong Kong. During the boarding process, the airline discovered that an unauthorized passenger had boarded a flight. The passenger was later taken away by Japanese police. All other passengers on the flight had to leave the aircraft for security reasons. Laos, a Southeast Asian country with a rich Buddhist history, has a tradition of its men becoming monks at least once during their lifetime. But some local business communities said the government should encourage people to work more and return to lay life to ease the issue of manpower shortage in the country. What do Laotian monks think about the idea? Take a listen. The ancient city of Luang Prabang. At the crack of dawn at around 5 a.m., Buddhist monks walk barefoot out of the temple, receive alms along their way, and bless those who made the offerings. Laos, a country with rich spiritual and cultural traditions in Buddhism. The majority of its population identifying as followers of Buddhist teaching. Traditionally, Laotian men are expected to become a monk at least once during their lifetime. 17-year-old Kan Deang is a practicing samanera, which means a novice monk. He was sent to receive monastic education 5 years ago. Following a monastic routine, he wakes up at 3 a.m. every day to chant sutras. A novice monk also has to follow a slew of Buddhist rules and precepts, including the prohibition of killing. But because Laotian monks mostly follow the Theravada Buddhism, they are allowed to consume meat. Our young monk here ate chicken today. He said it won't affect his spiritual integrity.
I don't have any effect, even I eat meat. I have 100% sense of Buddha. I think it's more comfortable if compare monk in China.
No restrictions, too, on the use of mobile phones. Monks can use their phones to improve their knowledge in Buddhism and use different apps to learn foreign languages.
I also would like to learn Chinese. After I resign from monk in some day, sometimes if I can work with Chinese company, I have these skills. If you doesn't know any foreign language, so it's difficult to find a job.
The Laotian government has stepped up efforts to develop its economy in recent years, including wooing foreign investors to set up factories in the country and turbocharging new infrastructure projects. But many Laotians opted to work overseas for higher income, leading to a serious issue of brain drain. With that, some local business representatives hope the government can encourage young people to work more instead of practicing as a monk. Around 20% of Laotian people remain illiterate, with no schools around many villages. Khan said monasteries can provide another form of education for his countrymen.
For the young monk, from the very low age, they can receive a good knowledge of Buddhist culture, to be calm down, obey, and also cultivate their mind.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.